Killerton has just released the October update for WRC 10. In this video I discuss what has changed, what has been improved, and whether it's done enough to entice you back to WRC 10. Hello and welcome back to the Ash Hobson YouTube channel. If you like what you see, click like and do all the other YouTube stuff that you would normally do. Now lend me your ears for a second. I discuss all things WRC 10 and see what those guys at Killerton has given us. Well, the patch notes, which I've put a link in the description now on Reddit, tells us that it's been quite a small update, but quite crucial. We've got new stages, new cars, an improved code driver mode, more logos for the livery editor in particular, and most importantly, some graphics updates or graphics optimizations. Thank God they finally arrived. First of all, let's talk about the Yeet Rally. 7 stages, including a shakedown, quite shorter than I was expecting, but I'm in a very weird quandary. I've actually done the Yeet Rally as a co-driver a few years ago, part of the Armed Forces Rally team, so I think I can compare a little bit between the event in real life and this game. To me, there are a couple of sections which took me straight back to Iiyama, driving through the villages, the hedgerows either side of you, the gullies to the side of the road. In real life they're quite a bit deeper, more hazardous, and if your tyres in there, you're stuck. That's your event over. So it's not quite as real life. However, for me there was one little jump when you're coming out of the wooded section, which I think is lifted from the actual event. Reason why I know that is because my Land Rover, when I was co-driving it, hit that jump. We lost a bit of control on landing and nearly hit into that person's house. Sadly, there's no spa-front jumps, and it does seem a bit generic compared to the other WRC stages. There is a cobblestone section, which when I was driving it earlier completely threw the car around, which was absolutely brilliant. There are long sections where you go top speed, the engine hitting the limiter, being stopped abruptly by some square lefts around some houses. So yes, it does tick the right boxes and it does give you that feel. It's just not as great as many were hoping, but more stages in rallying is always welcome. So not bad, Killerton. 7 out of 10 for that, I reckon. We have 3 new cars, well 2 because one of them is actually just a reskin from an older game. The Fiat Abarth 131 driven by Roll to Roll. To me it looks okay, maybe. It does sound pretty meaty, and actually it's a much faster than I was expecting. It is seriously quick and really quite stable. Probably too much for a real drive car. You need to be an absolute lunatic to get the back end out and spin. It is quite possible, but if you drive it sensibly, you're going to have no dramas whatsoever. If you wanted lunacy, however, you need to go to the next car, the Ford Escort 1800. This car is the Ari Vatanen colours, is let down unfortunately by the sound it makes, which is a huge shame as most of us Brits remember the fire-breathing Dragon Ford Escorts tearing around the stages. However, it does drive as I would expect it to drive. Extremely tail happy, you need to go slow in, power out, get those rear wheels spinning up some smoke. It's trickier than it was in the previous WRC games, but it's a lot more enjoyable because of it. I am looking forward to honing it around more across some of the stages in WRC 10. I just wished it sounded a little bit better. The last car is more of a reskin, that's a Fiesta WRC 2017. Sebo GH1 in that lovely Red Bull livery, which was only for him in that season. It handles just like you would expect the modern day WRC cars to handle, very throaty on power, a nice palette cleanser, a bit plain. You've got all these other WRC cars. I don't think it adds anything more apart from quite a nice livery. If you want to see more of it, I got a no commentary run and a link for that will be in the description below. The livery editor is something I've only just started using, but I can attest to how functional and relatively easy to use and how much you can create with it. I spent 10-15 minutes with it the other day and came up with my Tommy Mackinnon Lancer inspired paint job on my Skoda Fabia for the career mode. With the new logos now and licenses being agreed, there is a lot more variety for you livery creators out there. Just would be nice if you were able to share them. Finally, and most importantly, let's talk about the graphics update on PC in particular. I've played with the new update for a couple of hours, testing different graphical settings and resolution. 2560, 1080, 60 FPS with or without VSync, all the way up to 3440 by 1440p with no VSync. For me, I can say it has reduced the stutter issues with this new update, but it is still not fully optimized. Most gamers will still have to play this with VSync on for it to run without a hitch. For us sim racers, this is usually unforgivable, but with this update it is no longer game breaking if you choose not to run VSync. However, it's still not quite right. I haven't experienced any of the game breaking issues that was known before this update. However, if you can't live with these issues, then I think you're not going to enjoy this very much, which is a shame. For me, I can manage just fine on the lower settings and 460 FPS without VSync at 1440p. However, as I recall in the PC, it's just a lot easier with VSync on 1080p and just have some fun with the game. So, in summary, the October update, for me anyway, has been very well received. Some decent cars, Yeeps, maybe a bit disappointing for some due to the lack of Spa-Francorchamps in particular, but the stages themselves are pretty enjoyable, if not breathtaking. The graphics optimization has some improvement to make the game playable for most. However, for the hardcore sim fans, they may be disappointment with the requirement for VSync. Now if you like that, check out these videos on why you should or shouldn't buy WRC 10.